Hey guys, we are going live with Dr. Stephen Gowdy, who is the founder of Dr. Knows Best and creator of the NoseBot. So he'll be joining us here shortly. We're just gonna talk about, obviously the NoseBot is a great product, and just want to address some common comments, concerns, questions about using a breast pump as a suctioning device for nasal aspiration. So, hi, Dr. Gowdy. Thanks for joining us. Do you want to just give a quick introduction to yourself? And I have a few questions prepared for you, but go ahead and just do a quick introduction.
Great. Hi, Dr. Stephen Gowdy. I'm a pediatric ear, nose, and throat surgeon, so I pick boogers and earwax for a living. And obviously, we've created the NoseBot, which is a hospital-grade nasal suction device for babies. And because I take care of snotty babies all the time, it is a product that lots of families that I've come encounter with, that just baby can't breathe. What are we going to do? Particularly the ones that are hospitalized and have RSV and those kinds of terrible conditions. So certainly happy to be here with you tonight and discuss some of the, obviously the NoseBot, which I think works great, but some of the other hacks that are out there and why they should or shouldn't be done, and kind of some of the confusion or some of the issues that we may get into tonight. So, but thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being willing, for spending your time doing this. I think it's easy to just come across a hack and assume the best of it, and just wanting to really address any safety concerns with using a breast pump as kind of the suctioning device. And so, there were a good number of comments, outright stating that it's not safe. A lot of people were arguing that the level of suction of a breast pump is too high for infants, and that the pressure shouldn't go above, I think, like between 80 and 120 millimeters mercury. Whereas a breast pump, usually the typical range for the maximum is 270. So could you talk to that about the pressure? And I think the NoseBot is twice that of a breast pump even. So I'm kind of confused by that, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a great point. And obviously a tiny baby is different than a 6-month-old, is different than a 12-month-old, is different than, a 2-year-old. So some of it really just depends on, how old the baby is and so on. Couple issues to unpack. One is the use of a breast pump to clean out your baby's nose. I'm all about ingenuity and kind of coming up with new things. However, we've kind of run into this comment a couple times, and if it works for you, great. I mean, I don't recommend it as a physician, but if it works for you in your hands and you feel comfortable with it, or your provider feels comfortable with it, that's awesome. The concern of some of the things that we've done with a breast pump and a nasal suction device is that, it's a breast pump. It's not designed to suction boogers out. The airflow is super low, but the pressure is super high, as you said. And so, the one that we tested, the Modelo one, and I don't have any financial relationship with them one way or the other. It was what somebody in the office had that we tested, and it goes, it pulls that stuff out, so it has strong suction, and then it goes, and it actually pushes things back in. So there's kind of this push and pull, and so pushing mucus and debris back into your kid's nose or back into the back of their throat isn't necessarily what it's designed. It's not designed to do that. You don't want to be pushing things deeper down into your kid's airway. Would be one comment about the use of a breast pump to do nasal suctioning. But again, if it works for you and your pediatric provider is totally fine with it, I don't have any, that's between you and your provider. As far as it relates to the millimeters of mercury suctioning, that's in a closed loop, meaning you're completely getting a seal. And so being a parent of 3 kids, I used to use a blue bulb all the time, and it does not work whatsoever unless you really just completely insert it into your kid's nose and create that seal to pull it out, if that makes sense. And so, I agree that you don't want to, hook your kid up to full bore suction, in a closed loop and use it in that way, whether it's a breast pump or whether it's the NoseBot. I mean, we designed the NoseBot to have 3 levels of suction to give people, some flexibility and choice. I would say that, the way that ours is designed, it's not designed to, completely obstruct the nostril for any great length of time. And there's 3 settings. So you can have it on the lowest setting, which is going to be lower than the breast pump and lower, than other standard suctions. But, if your kids have lots of boogers and they're bigger or what have you, you have choices. So you can change the amount of suctioning and how much you're actually completely creating a seal in the nostril. Does that make sense? I hope that's not too lengthy, but it's a nuanced, consideration when you're suctioning your child's nose.
Sure, yeah. So I'm just seeing a question now. Actually, someone is asking, what are the levels? So you said the lowest setting is lower than pump. Could you quantify that?
I mean, again, I'm not, these are ranges, right? So I'm not an electrical engineer or a mechanical engineer. I'm only a doctor, but I would say that it's, kind of 50%, of the maximum, and then 75%, and then 100%. So it's kind of like, low, medium, and high. And really, the millimeters of mercury, so when you're thinking about suctioning, it's not just the millimeters of mercury, like how hard will the pump pull against the tissue? It's also the airflow, right? So there are other devices. I mean, there's devices you can buy from Europe where you hook up your kid to your vacuum cleaner, right? And just like suction the nose with that. So, I mean, yeah, but that's, again, high airflow, but it's a fan. It doesn't have like a pump in it, so it's not going to. It's a fan. It doesn't have like a pump in it, so it's not going to pull on it. Does that make sense? I heard an echo or something. I don't know if that was me. Does that make sense? I heard an echo or something. I don't know if that was me. I can hear you. Let's see. Can you hear me?
What's going on? Okay. You can hear me. Are your AirPods working?
I think so. Was that better? I can hear you.
I'm not sure what's going on here, but hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I don't know. I think yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry. I think it was my end that my AirPods connected even though they were in the case. So whatever, I'll just wear the AirPods then. Glad we figured it out though.
Yeah. So there was a comment that somebody asked, is it lower than a breast pump? And I think it probably depends on what kind of like there's 1,000 different breast pumps, I mean, and most of them are hands-free now and so on. We tested one of the old Modelo ones. They're kind of the yellow and black thingy, So and again, there's not, I mean, you can adjust those settings up and down, but I would say that the lowest setting that we have, and again, this is just me off the top of my head. I'm not, again, I don't have all the data in front of me, would be lower than a breast pump. Uh, but then you have the ability to increase it and
Yeah.
or like
And
obstruct the nostril uh, with our nose piece. But the other thing about our nose piece is it's not like long and slender, so you can't like, not to be gross, so you
stick
can't
it all
jam it
in
up
there.
in the nose.
Yeah.
It just sits. It sits on the outside of the nose, so it
Sure.
doesn't.
Yeah.
It's hard to get it. Hard to get it to seal, and that's
Cool. Okay.
intentional.
Right. So it is, I'm glad that you kind of brought up um the full vacuum um as, kind of a factor to be considered because I know that a lot of people were commenting, mentioning Dr. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing his last name, but Gahary. He's also an ENT, and he
Yeah.
claims that you should never suck out a baby's nose, that applying a vacuum to the nasal cavity causes damage to nasal tissue and potentially will worsen congestion. So, can you speak to that?
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. And you can hear me okay now.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think anything done too much can cause injury, right? So I think if you're like really, and again, not to use a weird word, but jamming like, a blue bulb or something in the nose and like sucking on things, you're gonna create some damage, some irritation, some inflammation, and so on. However, if your child already has a cold and they've got tons of mucus and they can't breathe, and they can't eat and so on, I think judicious nasal suctioning before feedings, before they go to bed, makes a lot of sense to me. But
Mm,
you know, I um, I don't really worry about it. I mean, if you're just doing it when they seem congested and before they eat or before they sleep, meaning maybe 4 or 5 times a day,
right.
that doesn't seem excessive. But if you're like doing it every 30 minutes or whatever, then you're probably going to get into the concerns for trauma and irritation and swelling and so on. So,
Sure.
and again, I think also the use of nasal saline is really important because, the saline, which is, and again, if you make it at home, you just need to be thoughtful and careful about it, just because you don't want to put bad stuff in your kid's nose. But the nasal saline it's hypertonic, meaning it's like when you go in the ocean, and so it's got lots and lots of salt, so it pulls the swelling out of the tissues, and then makes the boogers a little bit more viscous or
Mm,
easier to get out. So you put the saline in, wait for 5 or 10 seconds, let it kind of do its thing, pull the swelling out, and then you pull out the boogers, with whatever device you have at home.
sure. Okay.
But don't
So,
do that every 5 minutes, because if you do it every
right,
5 minutes, then you're going to cause irritation.
right. But doing it occasionally, the
Yeah,
benefits will outweigh,
yeah.
and it shouldn't cause excessive damage if you're only doing it a few times a day.
Yeah, I mean, and again, if you're like, so the one of the things, and again, this is, I don't know, some people get crazy on the internet, but what we're taught as ENT doctors is that babies, young babies are obligate nasal breathers, meaning they can't really
Mm-hmm.
breathe very well through their mouth because their voice box, which is here, is so high up in the back of their throat so that they can eat and breathe simultaneously. Like if they can't breathe through their nose, and they don't do a great job of breathing through their mouth. So you really need to get their nose cleaned out so that they can eat, because if they can't breathe, they can't eat. If they can't eat, they don't sleep. You don't sleep. They get dehydrated. All those kinds of things. So,
Sure.
I mean, people have been sucking out noses for a long, long time. I mean, the mother's kiss, which we don't have to get into because it's some people's dinner time. I mean, is a legit. It's a real thing. So,
Yeah, yeah,
and it doesn't have to
definitely.
be the mother's kiss. It could be the father's kiss too. But that's just I've heard it called, where you literally put your mouth on your kid's nose
Mouth on
and
the nose. Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so real quick, I did want to mention, I we want to do a giveaway to someone in the live. So if you are interested in winning a free NoseBot, um, comment any question or kind of question for Dr. Gowdy in this live.
and then we will pick a winner at the end of the video. And so I did just have a couple more questions for you, just to kind of get into more of like the NoseBot side of things. So like obviously we're saying that a breast pump isn't necessarily going to, collapse their lung or cause excessive damage, but it's not the best tool to be using because it's not a continuous, pull. It kind of, like you said, it's like a pump. It goes back and forth, back and forth. So, um, can you talk about the benefits of the NoseBot specifically? And then kind of what sets that apart from other nasal aspirators on the market?
Right. Yeah, a couple of things. And, the origin story of our company, like, I mean, I guess my wife, number one, she takes credit for the NoseBot just because she's like, dude, you're an ENT doctor and we have 3 kids. And, why isn't there anything better, out there? And so we've been thinking about and kind of trying to come up with some things. And I met with a family that was hospitalized whose child has Down syndrome, and so Down syndrome children have smaller nose passages and was really congested. And she didn't have a whole lot of money, but she was trapped in the hospital because her kid couldn't breathe. And so she was just desperate for a solution. So in my mind, we needed to have a better solution. And the solution, she paid even more money than what our NoseBot cost, doesn't really work. It's just like a big fan. So I knew then it's like, hey, there needs to be something better in the market. So the things that we took into account when we did lots of, obviously I see families all the time. So I'm doing research with real families that have these problems. And a couple of things. One, once your kid figures out whatever device you're using, it's coming at them, they start losing their minds and trying to get away. And so, it becomes a 2-parent job. Or I've heard families tell me, and a lot of times it's a mom. It's like, I literally sit on my kid to suction out their nose, right? So you've like lock their head between your legs, and then you pin their arms down with your knees and suction out their nose because you can't do it. So the nose piece, and I'm actually out of town at the moment, so I don't have one with me, but it sits on your fingers like this, so you can suction the nose and hold their face simultaneously. So it gives you a hand back. And then the other part is that it is portable and rechargeable. So meaning it's probably the size of my hand. You can throw it in your diaper bag. You use a USB cable to recharge it. So, and the level of suction we've kind of talked about, but it really is dependent on what the needs are for your baby at that moment, right? So you have 3 levels, and you don't have to fully obstruct or occlude the nostril. So you're actually creating the amount of suction. It's all up to you, right? It's not like if you fully jam it in there, it's going to be one thing. If you halfway have it in there, it's going to be another. And so you really can control, and you can feel it. You can put it on your finger and feel the level of suction. Say, is this going to do the job? Does my baby, is he or she like got tons of boogers? Is it mucousy? Is it watery? All those kinds of things. I saw another comment about, moisture in the tubing in general. I mean, there's a little filter at the very back of it, so that should catch anything. If there is moisture in the tubing, you just need to dry it out, and then, then you're ready to go for number 2. Let's see. Yeah, it took my mom to hold the baby down. Yeah, it's legit. This is like the silent, I read an article that describes it as silent suffering. Like, these are the things like nobody tells you about being a parent that you're going to have to do and torture your kids and, just so you can help them breathe, right?
Other benefit, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was, honestly, that was my frustration with the Frida nose, because my mouth, the little mouthpiece would always fall out. So I was having to hold the mouthpiece. It's connected to the tube, and then hold and then I had no hands to hold my daughter down. So that was kind of why I resorted to the breast pump, thinking, wow, this is, so smart. I should just use this. But
well, I mean, and I would just say the other thing is these are all medical devices. So the breast pump, it's a medical device. The NoseBot, it's a medical device. So it is intended to be used just for that. And so, that's the other thing to consider is that, like, you're using something off label.
Right.
Yeah. I see here's another comment. It's gross and you can get sick easily. I mean, that's the other, and again, that's another, thing about our device is like, you're not literally like vaping your kid's viruses deep into your lungs, right? That's a legit, like, even if you say, they'll be
Even
like,
with the
oh,
filter,
everybody gets sick, but like, yeah, but you don't really want, your nose acts as a filter, your throat, like if you're like just, that's going to go way down deeper in your lungs. Again, I don't have data to prove that one way or the other. I'm not making claims around that, but if we wear an N95 around people that are sick, and you're like literally huffing your kids' boogers, that's just not going to go as planned, would be my guess.
Got to do
Yeah.
everything you can to try and stay healthy as the parent when your kid is sick. Which also,
Right.
I am sick now after my daughter was sick last week.
Yeah, right. No, it's totally true. But again, if you have a cold versus like you have pneumonia, yeah. Let's see. How would you clean out the NoseBot? And I'm sorry, I hadn't anticipated talking about it, but it's like a tube like this. You pull all the pieces apart and you just wash them out, and you can throw them in the top rack of the dishwasher. So it's pretty straightforward. And it has a little filter in there that catches the big thick mucus, and then you can, throw that away or wash it out or dry it out or what have you. Can you use the same NoseBot for 2 kids? I mean, I would use the same like base, like the vacuum thingy, which is the most expensive, and just buy different nose pieces, right? You don't. I mean, there's certain things called biofilms, which are just bacteria that get stuck to things, and I mean, I'm sure your kids trade bacteria and bugs. So, and I'm sure there's plenty of parents that don't really change the nose pieces between the two. But me thinking here right now, I would probably say just have the nose piece for each one of them. But it doesn't. Other than the part that touches the baby, it's not going to infect them any other way.
Yeah, right, because it's continuously sucking away,
right.
not
right.
reintroducing.
Yeah, but like with the like the breast pump thing where it's like pushing air in, then that would definitely be a source of contamination. Not to mention like all the funky stuff you might get in your breast pump. I mean, if your kid's in daycare, they're around like MRSA or methicillin resistant sapphire. I mean, there's a lot of funky stuff that you could get down in your breast pump that may be hard to get out.
Yeah, that was another comment that was kind of a continuous one, was, mentioning when you take the backflow protector off of your breast pump, you're potentially then introducing bacteria into. So like, I am not actively using my breast pump for removing milk, but if you were, I would not recommend doing that for, basically removing your child's boogers.
Right.
Someone just asked, is there just one size for the nose piece?
Yeah, right now we just have one size. I mean, could we or can we develop different sizes? I think that's something that we've been considering, and we get that comment occasionally, but I would say most people kind of figure out how to, because the point is not to have something that's long and slender that you can really get in there and cause some of the irritation that the other ENT physician was talking about. But ultimately, if we have enough people like, hey, I have a micro preemie or whatever, I really need a smaller nose piece, then we may do it. And then the warranty, I think we have, and again, I don't have the box in front of me. I would say that I think that there's like a 6-month warranty, but I mean, I stand by our products. If there's a problem, I want to hear about it. We'll figure out. I mean, we're very focused on the consumer and being, a good advocate for the family, just because we're building not just a single product, but like a whole suite of different solutions to help families take care of their babies, at home. There's nothing that's more precious and valuable to us than our children. And so if there's issues, and it's, we're going to take care of it.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Any products planned for the future?
Yeah, we have. So go to our mailing list. I want to tell you what it is, but I'm afraid that, like, I recently got demoted to the chief medical officer. We hired a new CEO, and she's awesome, but I'm also a little bit scared of her. So, very soon, product number 2 will be coming, and and again, we're focused on smart solutions that makes parenting a little bit less frustrating, a little bit easier, and then also is a little bit smarter than. No, I can't tell you. I know, but I'm afraid. I'm more afraid of my new boss than I am of of wanting to tell you all the secret. But And again, I think it's an interesting point, but like our new CEO is a mom and she runs companies. And so, our company will reflect our consumers, because I think that's important, for us, right? I mean, I'm in front of all of our patients all the time, but I want our company to stand for, what it's like to be a mom and a parent and, you know, all the running between work and home and dealing with sick kids and sick dogs and like all the things, right? So
All right, I'm just gonna have to keep us wondering then.
I know I
Um,
want to tell you I want yeah well as soon as I get the okay, I will make sure that you're in the know. Allison will make
yeah,
sure that she closes the loop with you.
yeah.
So
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Gowdy, for your time. And we will pick a winner. I'll pick a winner for the NoseBot after this is over. And then for anyone that is interested in the NoseBot but doesn't necessarily win it, the the discount code that you can use for 10% off is Peaceful Sleeper. And so if you're interested in purchasing the NoseBot, I'm getting one. And so try it out. Definitely want to be using something that is one made for nasal aspiration and isn't gonna gum up your breast pump with the bacteria if you're using it actively for milk removal. So last question I see we have is what is the most common issue you see in your patients?
no, that's a great question. So as a pediatric ENT, I see a lot of ears and nose and throat, right? But I would say it's between ear infections and sleep apnea, or kind of snoring, gasping, choking, pausing. Um, so those are, and again, it goes along with you get a bad cold, your nose gets plugged up, your kid gets an ear infection, and then rinse and repeat over and over and over. So I'm happy. So there's like I post a lot of content on TikTok because that my mission as a physician is to actually explain some of the things that I see, so that folks can have that understanding of like what is RSV, what is a tonsillectomy, what so on and so forth. So yeah, so and again, I love your name, Peaceful Sleeper. Like as a parent, that's all we want, right? And if your baby's not breathing well and not eating well, then peaceful sleeping is not coming your
Yep.
way. So
Yep.
yeah, we could spend
That's
an
been
hour
my week.
talking. Yeah, right. So again, I'm just thankful to be here, and it's a conversation. I mean, love the fact that your audience is so engaged to say, hey, well, what about this? Like
Hmm.
I mean, parents want to know the real truth, and so
Hmm.
that's our goal. Let's see, what percentage of ear infections do you see heal without antibiotics? So if you look at the guidelines about treating ear infections, so depending on how old your child is, how high the fever was, all those kinds of things, there are guidelines that the pediatricians and the family practice doctors and the ENTs have all agreed upon. And most ear infections are actually viral. And so if your kid isn't super sick, and just has an ear infection, most of the time it'll go away. But we as Americans have kind of, we spent 2 hours waiting in the office. We paid a $50 copay and we got to go to work tomorrow. So like waiting and seeing if things get better that doesn't jive with like normal, like, hey, this is the way it's done in, the ivory tower in Europe or what have you. So, but antibiotics have side effects, right? Bad diarrhea, there's all kinds of things. So it's an interesting kind of thing to discuss and talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. My daughter is actually on antibiotics right now for her ear infection that came as a result of her cold last week. So, but
There
her
you go.
fever got up to 104. So
Yeah,
hopefully
that's
it's needed then. But yeah,
yeah,
she's
it's
doing
not
much
fun.
better on the
Good,
antibiotics.
good. So,
All right. It's 10 o'clock. So 10 o'clock my time. I don't know. You said you
right,
were traveling right now, but
right.
all right, I'll let you go. And thank you
Yeah,
guys all for joining. And I'll go through the comments and pick a winner.
yeah. Good luck, everybody, and then happy to jump back on anytime and answer questions or whatever y'all need.
Also, give Dr. Gowdy a follow on TikTok. It sounds like that's where you do more of your content creation. So I'll go follow you over there as well.
Yeah, that's what, and the post, like, yeah, we try to keep Instagram more lighthearted, but TikTok, I talk about all kinds of things. So,
Right.
yeah, cool.
All right. Cool.
All right. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Have a good night.
All right. Bye.